that is the 1.0. So if you were to go over to workflowsecrets.info/Sam trial, get a 14-day free trial, boom, you would have access to that. You could run the play, you create resources, you add Sam Chat to your website, and either A, they trade their details for those resources, or when they're talking to Sam Chat will help gather these details. Well, from there, I realized,
you're doing 90% of the work.
I'm gathering their details. Well, I should probably have something that I can put the details in. And so then I opened the proverbial can of worms, and now we have a contact database. So this is the first step in the 2.0. So we have a contact database. Now we showed you guys a little bit of a highlight on the contact database with the connections piece. But you have contact information, you have your categories, types, milestones, contact preference. I love to just highlight this one. This is one of my favorite things. I like to say, I'm a millennial, don't call me, unless you or mom or Lizzie calls me, I'm probably not going to answer. And it's just who I am as a person. I don't know. So contact preference, you can specifically state what their preferred method of communication is. Is it email? Is it phone call? Is it a text message? Whatever it is, just make a note of it. Probably for me, if it's a business, email me. If I know you can send me a text message. That's totally fine. And that gives me the freedom to either maybe I will call you back, but maybe I'll just respond to you when I can. So that's got some stuff that I'll show you in a little bit in regards to the automations piece. But then after that, we've got tags. The important dates is how I have built out automations. So workflows, as you built them, are these big sequential processes. Sometimes hundreds of different things in these processes, this contract through close process, this first-time home buyer process. And what I've observed listening to you, listening to all the gurus of real estate is we have to have these automated systems. So that's how you become successful. That's how you build these repeatable experiences for your people. But they can oftentimes take 2 weeks up to, sometimes several months to think through these processes. One of your old customers, I remember you telling me the story. He went away with his wife for the weekend, had to rent a hotel with a big marker board, and they were post-it note placing, and oh my gosh,
honestly, I mean, it was a good thing at that time to be able to get everything done all in one weekend. And that was great.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, it's a process.
So, and this is where I think that technology really shows its age. Most of those systems are 2 decades old. My favorite way to say this is Living La Vida Loca was the #1 hit on the charts when Revolve came out. So, think about your Jinkos and really reflect back on what your technology is doing for you. So important dates is my stab at rethinking how you do automations. Now, there's lots of dates inside of your business, and each of these dates can trigger an automation to occur when that date gets filled in. My favorite example of this is birthday. We learn our birthday we learn the birthday of a client. We throw this into Sam, and it's going to trigger a routine. I'll show you that in just a second. That is the automated process, the workflow, if you will, for that specific important date. Now, instead of having to think through these, 1,000 piece processes, we just have to think about, okay, well, what about our birth date? How do we build a world-class birthday experience? What does that look like? How do we make sure that we're building experiences that are so good, people can't help but share about us, they give us free marketing, and ultimately our commissions grow from it. And so this is where our important dates come in.
I love this. It does simplify the workflows. And I was telling one of the users, Pam, Um, the whole idea of the workflow having all this stuff predicated the fact that we needed to have groups. And some things, to use a group effectively, basically you're saying, well, sometimes I use something, sometimes I don't. And if I don't use it, then I can uncheck it and do it. You've eliminated the need for the check here, because if you don't have the HOA docs filled in, date or whatever. Now this is I'm thinking real estate. You don't have that piece yet, but if there's a certain date that you're not using, it doesn't create the routine. It doesn't need to. So you're getting rid of, you're eliminating the need of that group. But if you do put in the date, then it'll start it. So it's the best of both worlds in a much smaller format. And you've just simplified it 10 times.
Thank you. Yeah, and so you might be looking at this list and you're like, well, you're missing a lot of dates, Cody. Got lots of dates to come, but also the intention is to have a little plus button down there. You can add your own important dates. So maybe there's a specific important date for your business. Just add it. There's no reason why it has to come from me, because, oh man, I think you run into these issues with having to create custom merge fields or custom fields that you had at RealVolve, where each and every user needs a different field, and so then you have thousands of fields. So important dates is the first step in these automations. Now, after that, personal details. We all learn personal details about our clients. It's just we're in a relationship building business. And if you can start thinking about real estate through the lens of my software, my technology helps me take off all these automated processes, the things that you do again and again and again, it's going to not only take away those little 3-minute chunks. Well, by the end of the year, if you write an email 10 times a week and it takes you 3 minutes to write it, and you're rewriting the same email every time, that's an entire 40-hour work week at the end of the year. That's your vacation week from just one email. And so, I read this book, Atomic Habits, several years ago, and it changed my life, because that's what fundamentally got me thinking about how life is systems. And so we have our systems, but then we also have personal details. We're learning about these people. Start throwing them in there. You could add personal details to RealVolve, but this is where, again, the age of the technology shows your system would hold this information. I like to say it hoarded this information, but it never used it. So Sam is looking at all these personal details, and it can use them to help create custom content. And I'll show you exactly how in a second, right? So you can use personal details. We've got our notes. You're going to have the connections piece. It'll get plugged in here. And then files for any of the files that are associated with this specific contact. So let's talk about how does it write this custom information? Well, you can do it a couple of different ways. You can do it from these automations. I'll dive into that next. But maybe we just want to send a text message and we want to customize it. Now, it can do that for text messages. It can also do that for emails. So this is how we build out these personalized communications.